What's up, dude? 5 years ago, Dirk Nowitzki retired. There hasn't been a deadlier German since Hitler. Looks-wise, he comes off as a big, stiff, goofy white man, but he was actually a stone-cold killer. Standing at 7 foot, 245 pounds, German Jesus towered over most and had to be lethal in bed because his stroke was butter. Back in the late 90s, this was rare. The league only had a handful of power forwards who could shoot it from deep. This made it easy for Dirk to become one of the best big shooters his rookie year. Huge emphasis on shooter, he wasn't much of a maker. In his first season, the big fella hoisted up 68 threes and missed 54 of them. While that's horrible, when he stepped inside the arc, he did a lot more damage. His long two was cash, he had tons of potential in the post, and being a white man, he was super crafty out of necessity. The 7-foot schnitzel showed promise, but production-wise, he was just alright. In 47 games, he averaged a modest 8 points, 3 rebounds, and an assist, which is a stat line maybe good enough for the all-rookie 5th team. Because he struggled so bad, he pondered leaving the NBA completely. Being an NBA player is a tough gig, but a very rewarding one. Dirk loved what he did, which is extremely important, but many people nowadays are very unhappy with what they do. I know when I worked in the fast food industry, I felt uninspired all the time because it wasn't what I loved. I loved the NBA, not flipping burgers. You may feel the same way about your job. The good news is the sponsor of today's video, Southern New Hampshire University, can help turn your dreams into reality with their online sports management program. This degree can help prepare you for an exciting career as an athletic director, sports information director, marketing manager, and many other roles in the sports industry. At SNHU, you'll learn the business and economics of sports, sports management principles, and how to gather and analyze data, as well as be able to tap into SNHU's network of graduates working in sports-related organizations and take advantage of an internship or experiential learning course within the field. Courses are taught by faculty with real-world experience, so there will be many opportunities to connect with people in the industry. SNHU is accredited, nonprofit, and has radically affordable tuition. They were also voted as one of the country's most innovative universities by US News and World Report. Go to snhu.edu/MBAGoober, also linked in my description, to see if you qualify for SNHU's sports management program. You might be eligible for financial aid or have previous college credits that could help fast track your degree at SNHU. Click the link to get started. Anywho, despite the fact that Dirk was cheeks, Dallas knew he was going to get better, but I don't think they expected him to do what he did the very next year. For his sophomore season, Dallas took him off his leash and let him run wild. He became the starting power forward, jumping from 20 minutes a night to 36. With the extra minutes came a lot more scoring opportunities. The amount of shots he got each night doubled, and oddly enough, his efficiency improved as well. Usually doesn't work like that, but he managed to take his true shooting percentage from 49 to 56%, averaging an impressive 17 points, 6 rebounds, and 2 assists. It was such a huge step up, he came in second for most improved player. Behind his increased production, the Mavericks won more games but just barely missed the playoffs. It was unfortunate, but Dirk's rapid ascension was the light at the end of the tunnel. By year 3, he stroked his way into the 20 points per game club and managed to improve his efficiency a tad bit more. His knack for putting the ball in the hoop as well as solid rebounding got him on the All-NBA 3rd team and into his first postseason ever. They faced off against the Land of the Mormons in round 1. Through the first 2 games, the Jazz led 2-0, but out of nowhere, Dallas put a finger in their butt and shocked them, winning 3 straight, moving on to the second round. San Antonio swiftly mopped the floor with them, but Dirk wasn't too shabby. In the last 2 games, he averaged 36 points, 13.5 rebounds, and 3.5 steals. From that point on, the MVP conversation included the tall baller from the G year after year. With him as their leader, the Mavs were destined to not miss the playoffs again for a very long time. It was mostly sunshine and rainbows after that. Dirk turned Dallas into a competitive team that consistently won 50 to 60 games. They made the second round a few times and even all the way to the conference finals in 2003. That was pretty solid, but they got made fun of a lot. People referred to them as Irk Nowitzki and the Alice Mavericks because they had no D. Despite this, they were still a great team, so they enjoyed their fair share of winning. And by 2006, they had reached a whole new level. Dirk was in the midst of his prime and was about to lead the Mavs to a 3-0 lead in the finals against the young D-Wade and the Heat. At the start of the 4th quarter of Game 3, Dallas was up 77 to 68, but they choked and lost. Then they lost the next game and the next game and the next game, completely blowing it Monica Lewinsky style. Dirk was humiliated. Everything had gone perfect up until the last second. From the regular season through Game 2 of the finals, then they just let it all go to waste. Harnessing the power of frustration, the following season, Dirk angrily bounced back, commanding Dallas to a jaw-dropping 67 wins. German Jesus was just that, scoring 25 a night on 50-40-90 efficiency. Sitting pretty at the top of the West, their opponent for round 1 was a very motley crew, the 42-40 Warriors. While these goobers should have been nothing to Dallas, there's a bit of a problem. The problem started April 17th, 2007. Warriors vs Mavericks. It was the second to last regular season game, and Dallas had a chance at knocking Golden Golden State out of playoff contention. This was what they tried to accomplish, but they ended up getting throat-throttled, losing by 30. Sure, the Mavs didn't need the win, but it gave the Warriors a scary belief in themselves. Just 5 days later, the two teams faced off in Dallas for Game 1, and the Warriors stole it. A big reason why was because Dirk was buns, scoring just 14 points on 16 shots. Luckily, in Game 2, the whole team bounced back, tying the series at 1 apiece. That was a big relief, but they went on to drop the next two. Thankfully, Dirk pulled a 30 bomb out of his ass in Game 5, barely saving them from elimination. They were down 3-2 against a team that shouldn't have even been able to touch them. German Jesus' back was against the wall. He had to do everything he could to win the next game, or he would become the biggest joke in the NBA. And to make things worse, he had to do it with home court disadvantage. Oracle was packed with cracked out Warriors fans. The atmosphere was terrifying. I wish I could say Dirk miraculously overcame adversity and willed them to the promised land, but he actually just forgot how to play basketball. Through 3 quarters, he took 11 shots and made 1 of them. It was a scene straight out of Space Jam, just brick after brick after brick. The game was tight at the start of the second half, but Dirk had already been defeated. He took 1 shot in the third while Steven Jackson lit them on fire. There was no hope. Dirk finished the night with an embarrassing 8 points, shooting 15% from the field, and was reduced to a punchline. The experience was so traumatic for him, he wanted to run away into isolation, but he couldn't because he was just named MVP. So 2 weeks after he got his cheeks spanked in front of the whole world, he was forced to get up in front of everyone and awkwardly accept the award. After that, he couldn't take the pain anymore. He and his mentor fled the US, traveling deep into the Australian outback where nobody could remind him of his failures. He didn't shave, barely bathed, and pondered why this had to happen to him. He was like a teenage girl who just got cheated on, a very tall, smelly teenage girl. Unfortunately, he didn't find his answer during this time. The following year went pretty bad. They were great in the regular season but got bounced in the first round. They did make it to the second round in 2009, but then in 2010 they got bounced in the first round once again. Entering the 2011 season, Irk and the Mavs were a joke. Nobody had any type of belief in his ability to lead them to victory. He was 32 and hadn't proved anything. There was no reason to think this season would be any different, especially because surrounding Dirk was a bunch of decent players but no other star. The regular season went as it usually did. They dominated, winning 57 games behind an efficient 23 points and 7 rebounds from Dirk. Despite this, nobody batted an eye because they were just gonna goof it up again. In round 1, their opponent was LaMarcus Aldridge and the Portland Trailblazers. Head-to-head during the regular season, both teams beat each other twice. Dallas had won more games, but it was a pretty even matchup because of their habit of shitting themselves. The Mavs won the first 2 games as Dirk put on a clinic from the free throw line, sinking 28 out of 30 shots, but Portland fought back, winning the following 2. At that point, history looked like it was going to repeat itself. They were gonna choke, and Dirk was gonna need to find a psychiatrist. But then a switch flipped. Game 4 was the last game they'd lose for nearly a month. They kicked Portland's ass in the final 2 games, then completely obliterated the back-to-back champion Lakers 4-0. Dirk went nuclear on LA, shooting 73% from behind the arc and 57% from the field, averaging a quarter a night. After sodomizing the Lakers, they faced off against OKC's three-headed snake. To start things off, Dirk let them know that Big Dick was back in town by putting on another free throw line masterclass, sinking all 24 of his attempts, finishing with 48 points in the dub. Sadly, this would mark the end of their win streak. They lost Game 2 by 6, tying the series at 1 apiece. Dallas was now on choke watch, and unfortunately, Dirk did just that, chucking up bricks and turning the ball over 7 times. Thankfully, his teammates picked up the slack and they scraped by with the Game 3 win. The 7-foot schnitzel had had enough. He went ballistic in Game 4, dropping a 40 bomb, then decapitated the snake in Game 6, moving on to the finals. Up until this point, they were perfect, but now they faced their toughest challenge yet. An even better three-headed snake, the God Squad Heatles. The Mavs were severe underdogs who weren't expected to make it this far. Meanwhile, from day one, everyone knew the Heat would be there. With a terrible past and the ultimate challenge in front of them, the Mavs had nothing to lose. They came out swinging in the first game, leading by 8 in the third, but then the Heatles flexed their muscles, coming back to get the win. To make matters worse, Dirk tore a tendon in his finger with 3 minutes left. Luckily, it was on his non-shooting hand, so he'd be able to push through. After that, everyone thought the Mavs were cooked, and it seemed even more likely when in Game 2, halfway through the fourth, D-Wade hit a 3, then celebrated with LeBron right in front of the Mavs bench. They were up by 15. The 2-0 series lead seemed to be theirs. But in that moment, Dirk channeled his inner demons. He refused to choke, fighting back like an angry, abused dog, miraculously taking a 3-point lead with 27 seconds left. Mario Chalmers then clutched up, draining a long bomb, tying the game at 93. On the other end, he went at the Boschosaurus, effortlessly cooking him, taking the 2-point lead with a few seconds left. Miami had no timeouts, so they quickly tried to get a prayer up, but it was too late. The series was now tied at 1 apiece. Their good luck would run out in a close Game 3 battle, but then it would get much worse at the start of Game 4. Dirk had woken up with a fever and chills, but he couldn't quit now. It was either go down 3-1 or become Michael Jordan. He chose the latter. Well, kind of. He didn't shoot well, but when it mattered most, he nailed a clutch layup on Udonis Haslem, securing the victory. With it tied at 2 apiece, it was anyone's series, especially with LeBron playing like a little bitch. Game 5 was yet another dogfight. It was close the whole night, and with 2 minutes left, Miami had the 1-bucket lead. Then out of nowhere, Dallas pulled a wild 15-point run out of their ass to put them up 3-2. With one more win, Dirk and the Mavs would accomplish the impossible, defeating a team that was supposed to win not 1, not 2, not 3, but 7 championships. Their chances started looking a bit iffy though. In the first half of Game 6, Dirk shot like Helen Keller, but somehow they were able to keep it close. This was a good sign for Miami because with Dirk playing bad, they weren't gonna lose, but if he turned up, it was over. Unfortunately for LaBitch, he did just that. Dirk led all scorers in the second half, scoring 18 points, commanding Dallas to a 10-point win, completing one of the most impossible runs in NBA history. Dirk was named Finals MVP and completely saved his career. Without that championship, he'd be labeled a choker forever. It was the most important championship to anyone ever. His story is one of my favorites because it was perfect. He experienced the lowest of lows and the highest of highs. A story that is not one of my favorites is the alien from San Antonio's. The dude is on track to kick ass for the next 20 years if we don't kidnap him or something. And click here to watch the video I made on him. Thanks for watching this one. Hope you enjoyed. Bye, dude.